So it sounds like I'm live right now. I'm just going to be practicing my sitar. So I don't practice this much just because I think it's something that could be fun, but I guess it's more interesting when there's that possibility of sharing it with other people hearing what's going on. So experimenting to see if maybe doing a live practice session makes me more interested in practicing. So I'm not very good. I haven't played this for very long, and basically I'm just gonna be playing around. I'm not like trying to make a show for you or anything like that. It's just like, if you want to listen to me practice, go ahead. So first I have to tune it. Here, let me see so you can see the instrument more. Unfortunately, I'm in the back of my truck here, and it can be hard to get enough room so that you can actually see everything. So this thing has been sitting in its case for probably a week, and the weather has kind of turned wet lately, and so it's kind of been, even if it's not raining, it's wet. So I left this thing outside in its case, and I thought it would probably be fine since the case seems really well waterproofed, but there were some spots that seemed to have gotten a little bit wet, so hopefully that doesn't cause any long-term damage. But it did cause this thing right here, this whole back part, that's basically a pumpkin, a hollowed out gourd. So it's fragile, and if it gets water damage, then it may rot and that type of stuff. So it also, because it expands and shrinks, it causes the strings to go out of tune. So now I have to tune the sitar, and this will take me a little bit. So basically the note I care most about is played on just one string, and I never fret that string. It's just sitting there for me to hit it with my little pick thing. So I have a little metal pick on my finger. It's just waiting when I hit. So there's another string which is kind of like the melody string that I can change things. And that's where I'm actually playing melodies and stuff like that. But this first string is kind of like the heart of the whole song. It's what's called the root note, and it's basically where a song starts and where it ends. And it's also where it's constantly returning to throughout the song. In fact, everything that's happening is kind of an emotional play on the desires of starting there, wanting to go somewhere, and then having to get back there, right, by the end of the phrase. And so there's all this tension that you can build, and beauty, and all these types of things. So, but it all starts and ends with that note. So then every other string, every other thing going on the sitar needs to be tuned to fit that note. So I'm actually going to do that now with the melody string, and you can hear it. It's definitely out of tune. Like it's the same note. I'm trying to hit the same note, except just at a higher pitch. So where am I? So what I'm doing right now is there's these big turny things up here. See, turny things? And I'm turning those because that's where the strings are wrapped around them. And so as I turn them one way or another, they loosen or tighten. So when I'm doing this, I'm actually listening for a different note than the same root note, because I don't have my finger on the strings. But when I put it on the strings right here, that's supposed to be the same as the root note, just at a higher pitch. So we're much closer. So I think it's sharp. So I have another thing down towards this end. Oops, let's loosen it. Okay, now they're pretty well tuned to the same note. So here's the first one. So that's the same. That's the melody string. So the root string, then the melody string, playing the same note as the root. Now I can play a different note, but so that new note is playing along with the root note because I'm strumming both strings at the same time. And so if you think about it, this is that note I was just playing. So as you get out of the context of where you are in the song, it's just a note. It's just a random note in the middle of nowhere. But when you add the context, the home, and the place that the song will go when it's done, and then you play it, suddenly it has a personality. So. Another cool thing about the sitar, actually probably the coolest thing, is you can see this is the string right here that is the melody note. So I can change notes. But I can also change notes like this. You can play entire phrases just sitting at the same place, and it also adds a lot of flavor because you're moving fluidly, like not in a jump from one note to the next. You're actually moving between all frequencies, theoretically, that exist between the notes on the way to get there. So it just adds a lot of flavor. Hard thing is, it can be hard to hit the note right where you want it, and that's where lots and lots of practice comes in. I mean, there's these guys who are moving all around the notes just like crazy, and it's just, they've been doing it for decades. So one thing about this string is that because I'm bending it, it puts a lot of pressure on the string, and so it actually goes out of tune pretty easily. So after I tune it to about the note, I always go a little bit above, a little bit sharp. That's a little bit sharp, I think. Maybe it's not. So that's sharp by a lot. Now I'm going to bend this string as far as I can and then come back. So it's much closer now, right? And now I know it's kind of in a stable. I can put a lot of pressure on this and it's not going to move the tuning. So then there's 3 more little strings. Let's see, I don't know if you can see them. Can you see these? They're right here, right? They go across here. And I basically just hit them, and they don't change either. And they're basically a power chord within the key. So it's the root, it's the 5th, and then it's the octave, which is the same note as the root, just at a higher pitch. So I have to tune these. Sounds a lot better now, doesn't it? So you can kind of have your own little rhythm section because you're just playing off that root note that you never change. And then you can play these higher, like I don't know, they're kind of like a celebratory in my mind, although in sad songs you might not consider it that. So that's basically it. There's also a whole nother set. If you look underneath, so the strings are actually way up above this thing, right? So there's lots of space. But then right here, there's like 13, 14, 15 strings, which are all very high pitched, and you tune them to every note in the scale that you're playing, and that you don't change the notes on those either. When you actually play a note, that's vibrating in the air, and it will make the string, which is tuned to the same note, vibrate, except at a much higher pitch, and so it kind of, this nice sweet thing comes out of nowhere, and just in the right moment. So it's kind of a magical instrument in that way. Okay, 1 second, I need to check my propane stove, make sure it's not dead. And now I'm back. For anyone who doesn't know, I'm in the back of my truck because this is where I live. I live in my truck. And I like it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how I guess this is kind of like a little more of a show than a practice session. Impromptu. Hopefully it's interesting. So let's talk about how the other notes kind of come. So there's the root note, right? Which I'm playing there. And there's the octave, which is just the root note again at a higher pitch. Now that's basically, you can think of it kind of like the boundaries of the song, right? So I like to think of it as that you start at the root and your goal ultimately is to get to the highest one, right? Back to the root except at a higher pitch. You want to double in frequency. So you want to get from here to here. And then ultimately you're going to want to eventually get back down. So that's not very interesting. You're just basically playing the same note and you're going up and down in how high pitched it is. So then all the other notes come into play. And the interesting thing about the notes is that they're not subjective. They're not like specific to human beings or anything like that. They are actually derived through the harmonic series, which is a principle in physics that relates to how different frequencies of other things interact and what kind of like sub frequencies that they generate within themselves whenever they're vibrating. So these are kind of, the notes are fundamental to the universe and how the universe works. Like that's not like debatable. That's just a thing. Now, there are some things to keep in mind, like in the Western system, we've moved off from what would be the actual natural notes and moved some of them up and moved some of them down. And we did that a long time ago to kind of adjust for like different types of instruments which played better in certain keys, and just construction and all that type of stuff. But it kind of made it so now all of our music is using that non-natural system, and in my opinion, it really it's a bad deal. We should have never done that. But the nice thing about the sitar is it's actually sitting on those frequencies. Okay, so let's talk about how you actually get the notes. So you start, let's say we start here. Let's just say, for example, that's 100 hertz. That means it's going up and down 100 times, I believe, a second, right? So that's what this note is, 100 hertz. That's not really what it is, but I'm just for explaining. Now the octave is always twice that much, right? So that's 100, and that's 200. So every time the root goes like this, like does a full basic, it does a basically one full circle, because this type of graph is really graphing a circle. So if you think about it, just one circle, one cycle of vibration, 2 cycles of vibration happen in the octave. It's going twice as fast. So those are the first 2 notes. So you basically took 100 and then you added 100 to itself and you got 200. Now what we're going to do to get the next note is we're going to add 100 to that number. So, wait, is that right? Add to that number. I'm actually not sure I'm remembering this right. I think that's right. I think the next one's the 5th. So, I'm going to have to recheck my data about how that all happens actually in the math. But the next note that actually is derived is called, what's traditionally called the 5th. Nope, that's not the 5th. That's very much not the 5th. We can talk about that guy in a minute. So, it's a different note, but it feels, to me, safe, like home, and like a place that you can kind of rest and recuperate for the next stage of the journey in the song. So the ultimate goal is to get to the octave or back down to the root, but if you have to stop somewhere, the most comfortable place to stop would be the 5th. And that's the same note that's in the power chord with those 3 strings up here. So. Now there's a bunch of all the other notes derived going through this method of adding 100 and then adding 100 and then adding 100 and taking that frequency and playing it. Now there's a lot of other notes that do get derived which don't show up in our music, which could show up in other cultures' music, but they would also have these notes, these basic notes that we have. Okay, now let's just go through how things can kind of differ in a song. So we start the root, and then let's say we go up, we want to go up, and we want to go up somewhere nice. So we'll go to the major third. It's also kind of comfortable, right? It doesn't quite give me the same, like, I can rest as, oops, no, not that one. We'll talk about that one in a minute. Like this one. Okay, so root, the major third, then the 5th. Yeah, it's kind of got that more, yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is good, we like it. So you can play, kind of happy songs by playing around on these notes. And you can add some more, which are a little more complex, which kind of keep you in that happy area. So I'm going to add the 4th at this point. Right, so things feel a little bit shady. I'm not quite sure. I mean, it seems good, but something feels like it could go wrong at any minute. So that's how I feel about that note. So we can have a much more complex song now because we have quite a few notes and we don't have to just go up to the next one, up to the next one. We can jump around. So. that's kind of the idea about like happy songs. They kind of feel comfortable if you think about it in terms of the actual frequencies and how they're interacting with each other between the root and the actual note you're playing. Well, let's just give you a taste of what I'm talking about here. So I'm going to play that major third, kind of a happy. Now I can play the other note, which is thought of sort of as the same note that you just, in maybe sadder songs, you might play this third, the minor third, instead of the major third. And it will give it a different feeling. So here's the happy one. And here's the sad one. Sad, uncomfortable, foreboding, just something. So we got to resolve something here. So we resolved it, right? We got up to the fifth. Back home. No problems here. So the difference between this note and this note is something they call dissonance and consonance. So consonance is basically like the frequencies work well together. They're not like getting in on everyone's business. So it feels more, peaceful and all that type of stuff. Then the other one is a little So again, back to the importance of the root note always being played is it's always giving you that context of what is the song you're playing, where are you, and because every note is meaningless without that, right? It's just a random note in a vacuum. So we can tell the flavor of this one. Very comfortable, basically no problems at all. We feel totally at home because it's the same exact note at a different pitch. Then this, I don't want to stay here. I want to go somewhere else. I want to find somewhere better than this. Now that's called dissonance, when it's like and consonance is when it's nice. So let's go to the ultimate consonant would be the same note. Now the ultimate dissonant would be what do they call that? The tritone. Some people call it the devil's note. It was actually illegal to play certain European areas during a certain period of time. So people took this stuff real seriously. Is that? No, that's not it. That's actually not it. That's not it. That one. It's one of my favorite notes. It's the minor sixth, I think it's called. We need to come up with better names for these things because those are not helpful. That's just my opinion. Okay, so back to the tritone. So here we are at home, the most consonant note. Now we go to the most dissonant. Pretty uncomfortable, right? Now let me go from that comfort to the fifth, that second most comfortable place, and see how that feels. So that dissonance that's in that tritone, I think of it as being something which is in its pure form at this point. Like there's no consonance happening at all. It's just 100% dissonance. These frequencies never match up with each other in a way that they feel comfortable. So all the other notes, like the ones that are kind of a little more sad, they have a higher amount of that dissonance. But they also have some of the consonants at the same time. Like this note, it's more comfortable than Like I'm. Okay. All right. That was weird. Back here though, a little bit more comfortable. Maybe not the best, safest, brightest place in the world, but at least we're not back where we were. Let's just go home. So that's sitar theory in a nutshell. And now I'm going to just play some music. So that was kind of a song. I've played that song before. Like I practiced that a lot. So that's not me just playing around. Well, I mean, if someone who actually knew what a sitar was, they would not have thought that sounded very good. But it's easy to make other people think this sounds good. That's one of the nice things about the sitar. You don't actually have to be very good at it for people to get excited. And then that was an example of kind of a more consonant song. And here's just a quick example, because my battery says it's about to die, of more, last one was a dissonant song. This is more consonant, like nice. All right. End of live stream, battery dying, gotta go. See you later. How do you end this thing?